Welcome back to Cradle to Grave Algebra. My name is Mark Gingras. Today I'm going to show you some shortcuts on how to kind of simplify roots, and not just square roots. Typically when you see a square root of something like 9, there's a little invisible 2 here that says square root. It's not there because it's the most common one we use is square root, but you could easily have something like the cube root of 64 or the fourth root of, say, 16, something like that. Let's do these out just for fun because we can. So the square root of 9, I think everybody knows, is 3. The cube root of 64, what does that mean? It means what multiplied by itself 3 times would equal 64, right? So 4 times 4 times 4 is equal to 64. So that would be a 4 here. And 16, I think, would be a 2. 2 times 2 times 2. So that would be 16, and times 2. Yep. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. See, there's 4 of them. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So it's the fourth root of 16 is equal to just plain 2. But I wanted to write that out to just double check, right? So this is what we're getting here. So what I'm going to show you is that there's a pattern to this mess, right? So why did I get 3? Why did I get 4? Why did I get 16? I think you kind of got the hint of it with the 2's I had up there. But let's just go ahead and move me out of the way. So the square root of 9 is the same thing. We can break this 9 up. Think of something you can divide that 9 by. Oh, I could divide it by 3. That would make sense. So the square root of 9, we'll start with that one. Square root of 9 is equal to the square root of 3 times 3. Now remember I told you there was this little 2 here? That 2 gives you a hint of how many groups of 2 can you have before you pull one out of the root. So you need 2. You need 2 groups. So you have a 3 and a 3. Since I have 2, I could pull one out. So that equals to 3. Simple as that. Let me do another example. Let's do the square root of, and I'll make this one up on the fly, 54. No idea what the square root of 54 is. But let's break that up into groups of 2, because remember that 2 is there? So equals, well, I know that 54 is an even number, so I can at least divide it by 2. So 54 divided by 2 is what? Anyway, so 27 times 2 is equal to 54. Now, I still don't have any groups of 2. Remember that little 2's there? But let's break this down even more. Well, what can 27 be broken down to into its, if you take it down to its prime factors? 9 times 3 is 27. So we have this is equal to 9 times 3 times 2. We still don't have any groups of 2, so let's break it down even further. What does that 9 break down into? Square root of 3 times 3 times 3 times 2, right? That still equals 54 at the end of the day. But I now finally have that little group of 2 right here, 2 3's. If there's 2 of anything, I could pull one out and get rid of the one on the inside. So this ultimately equals, and I'm in the way a little bit, but it ultimately equals, if I could pull 1 3 out, so it would be 3 square roots of whatever's left in the middle, which is 3 times 2, so 6. So the ultimate answer is 3 square roots of 6. So the square root of 54 is the same thing as 3 square roots of 6. Let's do the square root of 64. Let's do the fourth root of 64 and break it down. So 64 divided by 2, because I know at least divided by 2 works. I'll do that too long. So 64 divided by 2 is what? 32 each. So 32 times 2 is equal to 64. So that's fine. It's still equal. So let's break this down even more. I know 32 is an even number. So 32 divided by 2 is what? 16. So 16 times 2 times 2. Now I could break out this 2 right now, but instead I'm not, because, I'm sorry, it's not a 2. It's a 4 up here. Remember, it's a fourth root. And when you have more than 2 roots, you have to put the 4 up there, or the 5 or the 6. So 16 times 2 times 2. I have no groups of 4, so I can't pull anything out. So let's just go ahead and keep going here. 16 is equal to 8 times 2 times 2 times 2, because we still have these 2 up here. I have no groups of 4 yet, so let's just keep going. And of course, we have to keep our 4's in line here. So 8 obviously can be 4 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, right? So now we have one group of 4. We could pull that out. But we can break this thing down to, I'm going to draw a little tree here and say this is 2 times 2. And then we have this other group of 4 here, times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. But again, since this is the fourth root, we can only pull out groups of 4. So pick any 4 you want. Doesn't matter which one. You could pull out these 4. Because I have 4, I could pull 1 out and get rid of these 4. So this is ultimately equal to, I'm going to pull one of those 2's out, well, the group of 4, but you can only represent it as a 2 on the outside. 2 fourth roots, that's a 4, don't forget the 4, of what's left inside. We have the 2 times 2, or 4. It's not the square root of 4. You can't just pull out a 2 because it's the fourth root of 4. You can't break it up anymore. So the fourth root of 64 is equal to 2 and 2 times the fourth root of 4. Hope that wasn't too confusing. But just break it down into chunks or groups of whatever number is up here. Let's do one more example, just to be crystal clear on this. And I'm going to make this one, let's just go back to square roots of 2, or yeah, square roots, because that's what you're going to see most common, I think, for a while. So let's just make one up. Let's do square root of, I don't know, 164. Made it up arbitrarily because any number works for us. It's easy when you can divide them out into their prime factors. So what is this equal to? Well, I know I can divide it by 2, right? So that is equal to 164 divided by 2 is 82. So 82 times 2. 82 is an even number. Obviously, even numbers we can break down into at least 2 times something. So 41 times 2. 41 times 2 is 82 times 2. So the best we can do, because 41 is, it cannot be broken down any further into its primes. You can't say anything multiply that is equal to, I think 41 is a prime number, actually. Yeah, pretty sure it is. If you can't break that down any further, that's as far as you can go. So, but I do have one group of 2. Remember that little 2's there? So we have these 2's here, and we can pop that thing right out. Say 2 square roots of 41 is equal to the square root of 164. One other hint. Let me pull up a blank page here. Let's go to this site called Wolfram Alpha. It's called wolframalpha.com, and I can just type in SQRT for square root, and I can say square root of, what was that number that we just had? 164. You can plug in all kinds of numbers here. I hit enter, and it's actually going to break this down for us, and it gives you an idea of if we're doing things right or wrong. So the result, 2 square roots of 41, just like we thought. Sorry that I'm a little blurry out here. My screen is the wrong color. But I hope that made sense to you and it's correct. And also use that tool, Wolfram Alpha, but don't cheat too much off of there. That it actually shows you a lot of the steps, a lot of the ways to go. So use it as a reference for now. Trust me, you're going to be better off if you just do it out the long way for a while. All right, see you in the next lesson.